I got a question for you. Why is it that some deaths immediately spark outrage and coverage while others fade quietly, forgotten by the media? Today we're going to be talking about the suspicious deaths of Trumaine White in police custody and Qaadir and Naazir Lewis on Bell Mountain. Stories that were quickly labeled, poorly explained, and it's like they're already trying to push us to forget about them. You know what I'm saying? So we're breaking down how easily some black lives are swept under the rug and why these losses deserve answers. This is Society Breakdown. Peace and blessings. What's good? This is your boy Seven Inglewoods on right now in your zone, and this is another episode of The Black Men Show presents Society Breakdown. And today we're talking about the deaths of Trumaine White and the Lewis twins. Deaths that don't seem to make any damn sense. I ain't gonna lie. Today, when I was putting this together and I was just looking into the stories, I kept coming up with more questions than anything else. So this episode is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. So I hope y'all are good and don't mind coming along with your boy for the ride. Today we're going to be looking at what exactly happened to Trumaine and the Lewis brothers and why do these official stories feel incomplete. And on top of that, we're going to be looking at why society seems content to forget these stories or just accept these quick and questionable conclusions. You know what I'm saying? And then lastly, I'm just going to ask you, like, how can we ensure accountability? So a little bit of background before we get too deep into this thing, right? So Trumaine White was a 41-year-old truck driver out of Jackson, Mississippi. He was gone to a mechanic shop or something like that to get a tire replaced on his truck. Got the tire replaced. As he's pulling out, he throws a paper towel, something like that, out of the vehicle. And then he goes on to a restaurant to go get something to eat. As he's at the restaurant, apparently one of the workers at the shop, at the tire shop, called into the police and said that there was a powdery substance on the napkin that was dropped out the window by Trumaine White, right? Causing the police to go and question Trumaine at the restaurant, where they forcibly took him out of the restaurant and then arrested him and put him under police custody, where he hours later was pronounced dead. So this is like October of last year. During the time that he was in police custody, and it wasn't given how many hours that was, but during the time he was in the police custody, his mother, Valerie White, was contacted, and Valerie came down to the police station, had, protested mightily, I would imagine, asking to see her son. She was denied. They didn't allow her to see him. And I don't know. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know if she left. I don't know if she just sat in the station while they beat it, did whatever they did to him. I mean, like, it was already revealed that he was forcibly taken out of the restaurant by the police, and he didn't have a prior police record. So it just made this whole interaction with him and the police seem, I don't know. It seemed a little suspicious. It seems just a little suspicious. I don't know. It just seems a little, whatever caused him to excessively be accosted from the restaurant over what seemed to be a littering charge. It all just seems a little suspicious, you know what I'm saying? And then let's just say what it is. Let's just say that it was cocaine or some sort of drugs. So he has some sort of drugs and on his person, and he throws it out of the vehicle. Why would somebody throw the drugs out the car? I'm just asking, like what would cause him to do it right there? And then like, you got all this highway, I imagine, you out in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of highway, I imagine, out there. And you're going to do it on the premises of somebody's business? Again, why? So I don't know. And this is after you've already collected money from this man and conducted commerce with him by fixing his tire. So What prompted them at the tire shop to call the police and it led to all of that? How did that occur? And like, what was the exact cause of death? I don't think it was ever revealed. I think they just said something like it was a medical condition or something like that. some vague term or ambiguous ass term. Like, what are we supposed to believe here? And why aren't there any updates? Maybe some of you have heard of this story or heard this story before or what have you. Oh, you like, oh yeah, I remember that when it came out way back when. Man, what happened with that? Yeah, exactly. What happened with that? Nothing so far. And then we got Qaadir and Naazir Lewis, twins from Lawrenceville, Georgia, who disappeared on March 7th of this year. And their bodies were found on March 8th atop Bell Mountain in Hiawassee, Georgia, which was about 2.5 hours away from where they're from, with gunshot wounds. And authorities immediately say this is a murder-suicide. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but my channel is so small, I don't think it matters right now. How do you come to that conclusion so quickly? Just because you found a weapon nearby? I mean, there's been no official story of if there's been any fingerprints found on the weapon that was located at the scene. And like, where'd the gun come from? Who owns the gun? Which one of them owned the gun? Did they just have it on them as they were going on their way to the airport? And the bodies were found when a jogger came and reported, in this remote area apparently where they were jogging. And was the jogger questioned? Was the jogger questioned in any way in connection with this? I'm just saying, because sometimes, the people say that, sometimes people like to hang around their own activity to see things, from whatever perspective, and people are weirdos like that. And then there was another there was another guy who was arrested in connection with this case because he was a firefighter who apparently had taken pictures. So he's been arrested for that reason. But, I just wonder, like, was he questioned in that regard as well? Like, did he have any other reason to be doing this besides just being nosy? And so, like, of course, just like any other family would, the Lewis family is absolutely denying that this was any sort of self-unaliving situation taking place with their kids, because they were like, they didn't have any sort of indication that they would do anything like that. There was no manifesto, there was no letter or note or anything like that written. Now, I do want to say that there weren't any reports as far as I've seen from the GBI, because the GBI were the ones, and this is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. And the GBI is, from what I've seen, they're the ones who have reported that this was a self-unaliving in the first place, right? So, all right, so if they're going to say that that's what took place, can you tell me, GBI, what happened to their cell phones? Did they have cell phones on them at the set? I mean, these are 19-year-old kids. They had to have had cell phones. And there what did the GPS in the cell phone say? Or where were they? Or were they conveniently discarded early on in their whatever? And like, what happened with the people in Boston? They were supposed to be going to visit some friends in Boston, right? So, who are they? What do they have to say? I mean, were they the ones who reported that, hey, they didn't show up? And then, okay, and how did the handoff to the airport even work? You know what I'm saying? How did that part work? Were they driven to the airport and they just didn't get on the flight? You know what I'm saying? Or what is there footage of them getting out of the, did they take an Uber to the flight? Did somebody from the family drop them off? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of holes in the story, or there are a lot of the parts in the story that weren't given that just make me question what the heck really happened. And then, like, why was this, what was this emphasis on the fact that they had paper tickets in their wallets? These are kids. You know what I'm saying? Kids have a tendency to have an app or have something electronic, because they'll lose a whole lot of things, but they generally ain't gonna lose a cell phone. I mean, I mean, don't get me wrong, they lose a cell phone too. But I'm just saying, like, they'll lose a lot of things, but they won't lose a cell phone as quickly. And I mean, as quickly as they would a piece of paper. And so I'm just thinking, like, I mean, maybe it's because it's in their wallet, and maybe they hold on to the wallet more than the cell phone. I don't know. But it's just like, I would think they would have like an app and have it downloaded in the like have it in the app, or just have like an e-ticket or something like that. And I'm not asking these questions because this stuff is, just making it like I'm saying like the family or somebody is in cahoots or something like that. I'm not saying anything like that. So please don't take it that way at all. What I am saying is that the official story in both these cases just don't sound like they make much sense. Like, there's a lot of missing parts and pieces to these stories that just have me wondering and scratching my head like, well, what the hell is really going on? And it really makes me ask why. Why is this happening? Why didn't this information get reported? Hey, I had taken my sons to the airport. I dropped them off at this time. I saw them go into the airport. You could probably see their whatever, on the cameras in the airport at this time. And then maybe somebody says, oh yeah, but you can see at this time they walked out of the airport. Like, give me that at least. I don't need, so that's what I'm saying. Like, the kids just ended up missing. Okay, they were supposed to be going to Boston. And I just wonder, like, does society accept these easily given conclusions about these black deaths, like Trumaine and the Lewis twins? Apologies. And I just wondered, like, does society accept these easily digestible conclusions about black deaths? Because doing any questioning feels inconvenient. We can't scratch that itch too much because, it could lead to a rash. And if we have a rash, then, it could reveal that there's something else going on beneath that. And if we go down too far, then we might have a melanoma. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what it is? So we got the Lewis twins that took place earlier this month, and then you've got Trumaine that happened, last October. And with both of those, first of all, there hasn't been much development in either regard for either story, right? Other than, like I said, with the Lewis twins, the fireman had been arrested for taking footage and trying to distribute them. But other than that, there hasn't been much development in either case. And like, is the goal to just let enough time pass and then we'll forget about it? Like, if enough time passes, time heals all wounds, or at least makes you forgettable enough. And hey, we're in the information age, so look at this, tick tock. You know what I'm saying? Like is that what the goal is? I'm sure for the white family that won't happen. But for everybody else who's not associated with them, who's not directly impacted by them, like, is that the goal for us? And then I wonder, why are some stories allowed to breathe a whole lot longer than others? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and we've heard about the Black Lives Matter marches and all that stuff, but they were in regard to, or initially, and they were initiated by the unaliving of George Floyd, right? And so, there was George Floyd this, people making statements and taking days off work and march here and all these things that happened in that regard, and everybody had George Floyd on their lips. And there were other cases, similar cases that had taken place before and after George Floyd, very similar cases. One that I reported on, as a matter of fact. And so that one was just allowed to breathe for months on end, years even. And I just wonder why that story is allowed to stay in the ether, stay in the zeitgeist, whereas a story like Trumaine's can go unsolved, make completely no sense, there be no body camera footage of any sort, and everybody just is okay with it. We'll just let it ride. And then with the Lewis twins, hey, these kids passed away. Man, darn kids, there's a gun. You have a weapon that's been found on the premises, on the scene. Like Biggie said, sprinkle some weed, now it's drug related. So yeah, it's two teens. So yeah, it's related to that. And I just want to know, how do we make the media more accountable? Like, how do we keep their name in the ether? How do we keep it going? How do we keep them thriving? And why do we have? I wish we didn't have to. I wish we didn't have to talk about the Tatianas, the Freddie Grays. You know, I wish we didn't have to talk about them. I wish we didn't have to talk about any of them, the Sandra Blands. You know what I'm saying? I wish we didn't have to talk about and remember any and all of the names that die under weird circumstances where the story just goes, you know, or it seems like they just want the story to eventually die out. It'll eventually die away if you just let enough time pass. But is that ever the case? Is it ever the case? I mean, I think we're still talking about the suspicious deaths of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X to this day, right? Ain't we still talking about them?
To this day!
So yeah, when there are suspicious deaths that take place under suspicious circumstances, with suspicious ass stories, alibis, narratives, whatever you want to call them, that are given, I just wonder, how do you win in those cases? How do you get justice? How do you really get justice in those situations? And this isn't me trying to act like, oh, we're victims and we just need to sit back and they're just messing with us. But there are cases when we are interacting under good faith and suddenly that good faith is absolutely taken for weakness and we don't come out of those situations sometimes. That is the honest truth that takes place. So are we not to acknowledge when these things take place? So to the people who were mad at my last report about media coming after the sons of Deion Sanders and LeBron James, talk about like, it's 2025 and we're still talking about race. Yeah, it's messed up. And that's the thing. Yeah, why are we still talking about it? Look at what's happening in our government right now. Look at who's where and who's not allowed to do what. Look at what funding has been shut off and where. Just look around. Now, if you don't want to look around, then that's fine. And you can say, hey, no, everything is fine. Everything is fine because you're winning, and that's cool. And it's cool as long as you're winning. And if you're one of those types, then, you know, God bless you when you're not. Because it's not always fun when a rabbit got the gun. I digress. But yeah, like I said, just looking into these cases gave me, I just shudder to think that eventually there will come a time where some other story is going to come that will supersede these in the zeitgeist, and this will be the next thing that we'll be talking about. This will be the next death. This will be the, oh my God, I can't believe, did you hear about? And it just goes on. That's the cycle. Just let it keep happening, and that way you can't focus too much on the one. And that's really sad if that's the case. But I ask you, what are your thoughts on this beautiful and pleasant day? I know I was usually I try to keep it light, but man, and I didn't get too deep into it, but I guess questioning can take you down some deep into some deep places, perhaps. Have you take that. But yeah, I'll just leave you guys with this, right? Like, why do you think society finds it easy to move on from certain stories than others? Why are some allowed to live and breathe while others almost seem to be swept away as quickly as they're given, regardless of how heinous they are? Because I'm not gonna lie, this Lewis twin story, to me, this is absolutely something that we should be talking about all the time. Let me just say this, right? And this is just to be completely honest, right? If you were to look, like, to this day, if you were to Google Gabby, you're gonna get Gabby Patino, and that's the story of the woman vlogger who was unalived by her fiance, and it's a truly treacherous and heinous story, especially because I think the fiance's mother was like trying to hide him, or vowing to hide him to the death, or whatever it was. It was really bad, and but yeah, he unalived his fiance. And if you Google, and this happened some years ago, but if you were to Google and you just type in Gabby, Google is going to finish off and say Patino. Gabby Douglas doesn't pop up. Gabby Sidibe doesn't come. Like other Gabbies don't make the cut at all. Not even as suggest. At least not when I looked it up. And you would think because a lot of the algorithms sometimes be trying to do things by race and things. Like you would think it would try to suggest. Oh, you're thinking about or talking about Gabby Sidibe? No. And so that lives. It's still out there, still in the zeitgeist. It is still in the ether. But other stories aren't. Other names aren't. And that's really unfortunate. But yeah, it was a little bit different today, and I apologize if this format it was a little bit of a downer and, brought the mood down a bit. I promise it'll be better next time. That's what I said to her. Anyway. But yeah, this has been another episode of The Blackman Show presents Society Breakdown. And society, I am just wondering why certain things live and certain things die.